Today's Victoria 3 video is going to be a little bit different. Not only, of course, because we're playing with the new Pivot of Empire DLC in the new update, but also because I usually get the chance to figure out what country I want to play beforehand. As in, I'll usually at least try the country that I'm going to play. Usually I'll try it until I do it successfully. That's going to be the main difference, and I'll explain in a minute. But first of all, if you're new here, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and subscribe. Maybe like the video, that would be neat. So, the British East India Company. Obviously, things are looking a lot different. Not only we have a bunch of new tags here, but also like renamings and a couple different map color changes and whatever. The biggest, most obvious change, apart from the fact that I put on the new map type and all the new graphics, they look pretty neat. But also, of course, we have new journal entries. That's like the big thing for the British East India Company. If you've been keeping up with the dev diaries, you know that there's something very special for the British East India Company that you have the opportunity to do in the early game, but it is very difficult. And that would be turning the British East India Company into what you would call a utilitarian colony. Now, I don't think it's the intended path. I think you are actually, in fact, supposed to fail this, but I've been obsessed with trying to make this work. So I'm gonna try again because a new patch came out today. But of all the laws we start with, the worst one I'd say is the extraction economy one. Generally, it doesn't allow you to build up a great economy. Historically accurate, but boy, it kinda sucks for us. On the bright side, at least the caste system is not enforced because I think it just makes things far worse. So we are fighting a bit against the grain, and we do have to accomplish a couple of things. We need to finish the Consolidate Colonial Rule journal entry, and we need the average standard of living to be greater than or equal to 10. And to top it all off, if we tax people too much or do things that are too unpopular, then the stability of each of our 3 presidencies will go down. And if any of them are below high, which I think is like either 60 or 75. In any case, if the stability goes down too much, then there will be open rebellion, which will obviously cause us to fail this. The journal entry for Consolidating Colonial Rule is actually far easier if you know what you're doing, so I have a couple of ideas. I really wish it would highlight these eligible states, but we have to conquer 80% of pretty much this area and this area over here. One last thing before we get started, because I forgot to mention it, the utilitarian movement has its own ideology where they basically want to set up really good governance in the colony to make it very productive. That's their idea. Starting off with a couple of decrees, the ones with the most population are these areas, if I recall. We do want to promote social mobility in here and here and here. We want to encourage agricultural industry because it'll help people, you know, not starve. And we need to rebalance the taxes because we really don't want to tax the poor all too much. So let's get rid of this and this. Instead, we'll put taxes on services and transportation. We're going to reduce our taxation because having too high taxation makes people upset. In fact, we're going to try to boost their stability up to maximum for now. To start with, I think we're really going to want to be able to maximize our productive capacities, which will mean getting intensive agriculture and water tube boiler. We'll also need modern sewerage to help us not have to build as much infrastructure in a lot of areas. Central banking will help us with minting and reduce our loan interest because we will probably dip into taking out a few loans at some point. After that, though, there's really not too much we can do. I will take advantage of the fact that we are in the British market by using some of their goods to boost our own production. Likewise, we'll also use that to increase our bureaucracy and our construction. As with every good Victoria 3 game, we want to start off by industrializing. That's not the only thing we'll do, though. I'm going to go ahead and remove service exemptions from this one country over here. The reason I'm doing that is that I'll actually have access to Sind, whom we will want to turn into a protectorate for the least amount of infamy, since we will be doing a lot of conquering in the early game. Sind is now a protectorate. All you really need to do is have a country as a protectorate. It will count as being part of your ownership. See, we have another subject here who's also a protectorate, and I think I'd like to reduce their autonomy. Next, we would look at the British Raj. See, they're in a bit of a unique situation. At the start of the game, you could technically make them into a protectorate, but since they usually finish winning this war pretty early on, as they have in today's video, they end up getting just barely enough prestige to evade being turned into a subject. So we're going to have to change that. But that's something we'll have to get around to eventually, because first we're gonna go after Burma. There we go. So now we have Burma and the new federated Shan states. I also went ahead and changed the government of Burma to make it a little closer to ours. Now, one of the reasons why I'm deciding to puppet countries, turn them into protectorates rather than annexing the land directly is obviously, first of all, infamy, big thing. Second of all, we want as few people as possible. Also, if you have a bunch of loyal subjects, it increases the stability, and so you can actually afford to increase taxation a little bit whenever it's necessary. So, for example, when you're in debt and have a bit of interest you need to clear. Oh boy, we've just lost a whole lot of bureaucracy, and why is that? We lost bureaucracy because typically we get bureaucracy for making the East India Company happy. Well, in that case, we could offer to swap from mercantilism to protectionism, and I think they would probably be fine with that, so let's go ahead and do it. That should give us the bureaucracy we need to make sure we don't lose like $50 billion each month while we're industrializing. Fortunately, we did have some passive spread for Central Archive, so we got that pretty quickly. Our infamy has gone down to a pretty reasonable amount, so I think it's time we actually go after the Khalsa Raj. Thing is, it is quite a bit of infamy, so we can't take too much from the Khalsa Raj, and I will do something with this after, but at the very least, we will start by asking for that province, and assuming they're going to say no, which would make sense. I mean, I'm just going to ask for war reps, maybe that will change. But we will want to ask them to transfer Jammu. And they back down. Okay, that's very helpful for us because it'll reduce the amount of infamy we took from that play. Plus, I don't have to spend the money on the army, which is quite expensive. Another funny thing about playing as the East India Company is that you start off with like 0 wheat, 0 rice. You don't actually produce like any food whatsoever, it's all subsistence. But that does cause a problem, of course, because we actually have starvation mechanics now. So we kind of have to care about food. So we're going to increase a little bit of food security in our areas. Infamy is once again fairly low, so we're going to demand a reduced autonomy from Sindh. Hopefully they accept. Okay, I guess we're doing this the hard way. Yeah, that's what I thought. I could go ahead and do the same thing to Burma, but instead I have other plans, because this territory is part of the stuff that we need to take, and if I don't, Persia probably will. Now, Makran is actually a subject to Kalat, so all we need to do is ask for protectorate status from these guys. Then we'll also add a transfer subject, make that primary actually, because we do want that. And war reps, hopefully they'll back down. We'll see. Oh well, it is what it is. I think at this point it would be reasonable to go ahead and turn Chitral into another protectorate. There we go, and now have protectionism. Now, that actually wasn't all that important. I just wanted to make the East India Company happy. Next, if we're going to want to help our people become a little, less impoverished, I think getting rid of slavery would be a good idea. Tends to raise the average standard of living. I also think that the stability has been significantly buffed. I don't remember reaching numbers even close to plus 7.1 from low liberty desire subjects. I think I've usually seen like plus 2 maybe, so I think that's been buffed in the meantime. I went ahead and also shifted a couple of my priorities. We're going to suppress the pro-slavery movement, and we're going to bolster the utilitarian movement, mostly in hopes that I can actually get rid of slavery. We'll see. Even after taking Chitral, the infamy is still down, so we can go ahead and reduce the autonomy of Burma. Finally, we're at the point where we can demand the Khalsa Raj becomes our protectorate. Seems like nobody's going to get involved, and they've backed down. Perfect. Having subjugated this region, we did find a very important diamond, which we could decide to gift to Queen Victoria, or we could keep it ourselves. So in the interest of not having the entire population hate me that much, we're gonna hold on to it. Okay, forget about outlawing slavery, I guess. Oh, I'm actually allowed to change this? I thought that while I was a subject of Britain, I would be prevented from changing this, but if I can go to interventionism, that would be insane for us. I'll take this opportunity to also reduce the autonomy of this subject. I don't think anybody's going to object, in theory. Okay, maybe they would object. Makes sense. While I'm here, I might as well demand these treaty ports from Oman. I want to force the play so I can take both of them. Thank you. At this point, we're actually rather close to consolidating our colonial rule. The only other states we have to go after would basically be this stuff up here. Technically, this would also count if we went ahead and grabbed it, but I think in this case, it would make sense to just go after Kabul. Problem is, Russia wouldn't like that very much. We do also need a little bit more of Kandahar, but not much. We don't really have to turn them into a subject. I could just conquer like 2 provinces off of them. If we make them into a protectorate, Russia will not like that very much, but if we conquer simply this state down here, then Russia has no say in it. In fact, I might just go ahead, turn them into a protectorate as well. Still think Russia can't do anything about that. Make that primary, and then hopefully they'll back down. And that's it. We have consolidated our colonial rule at last. So technically we don't need to keep on expanding. I probably will, because why wouldn't I? We do get to decide what we want to do here. We can either make everybody, you know, more amicable to our rule, which isn't a bad idea, or we can make the East India Company itself much stronger. Honestly, I think this might be the play, because I don't think our subjects really care all that much. Now, the only thing we actually need to do to finish this journal entry is to increase the standard of living. This is a trap that I fell into in my first couple of attempts, and I must say, with whatever changes they implemented as of this morning, things seem to be going a lot better and a lot smoother. Since I've actually been on high taxation the entire time, all I would really need to do with my 9.9 current standard of living average is to simply take fewer taxes. There we go, the unstable Raj completed. The first time I've actually ever been able to do that. Well, at least you guys won't have to struggle the same way I did. Quite honestly, I didn't expect to get this far in today's video, so I didn't have anything planned for afterwards. I thought it was going to be a whole 4 hours of me struggling to figure out what I'm doing wrong, and then it turns out everything's fine. We do still need to get rid of slavery, so we'll go ahead and hire George Thompson, an abolitionist. There we go. With interventionism, it will reduce the GDP a little bit because the extraction economy is good at, you know, extracting money. So we will lose 10% throughput on quite a lot of our stuff, but at the very least, we should be able to harness the private sector now. Okay, I went ahead and decided to get rid of slavery, which made the utilitarian movement just happy enough to stop starting a revolution. So now we can actually have a legitimate government by shoving the East India Company back in control. At this point, I'm kind of just going around demanding reduced autonomy from all my subjects. Eventually, I might expand further, but I think I'd rather start cleaning up the actual princes in India. We do have our own mechanic, which allows us to pretty much just integrate any of them. It will take a while though, because every time we do that, it increases the liberty desire of every other princely state, so we have to start kind of small. Now that we're able to produce steel and soon enough engines, we should start trying to connect up some of these railways. Should really be as simple as building a railway in pretty much all of our provinces. And it did take a while, but we eventually banned slavery. In theory, that should increase some of the standard of living. In any case, it looks like the private sector has finished privatizing everything that they could in the country. I should have enabled my mod, actually. Hold on. There we go. Now I can see how much of my subject stuff I actually own. It seems, however, we are not satisfied with the amount of construction we have, even though I have a full construction sector in this province. So I guess we're gonna have to start developing some other area. Here we go. See, these British dictates often happen a lot earlier, or at least they used to. Maybe they don't anymore. But this is a good example of one I'd usually get maybe 10 years ago. I've absolutely no problem with building these universities. The main problem is that you have to build 9 of them. So in the early game, it's rather expensive and takes away time from the things you'd rather be building. But for now, it is not a problem. I should demand this guy's reduced autonomy. Hopefully he says yes, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it is what it is. Thank you for backing down, reducing the amount of infamy I need for that. Of course you're gonna want something. Okay, well, it's better to go 1 level than to go 2 levels. Sure, whatever. You know what, Britain? I can do you one better, actually. I'm gonna build 5 universities in each. Wait a second, Persia can declare war on these guys and Russia doesn't bat an eye? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna take this. Actually, yeah, my subject here kinda got destroyed a bit, but whatever. I'm gonna reduce their autonomy. What if I do this? There we go. We've made the British happy. We do unfortunately have a slight issue in the name of a drought over here, but it's not a big deal. well, it'll fix itself. We'll never get a better opportunity to annex this subject. Currently, they have a bunch of radicals, meaning we have more of a, quote, just cause to assume control over the area. Suddenly losing 5 billion government administration all at once, and I don't know why. Yeah, I've also lost all my construction. What? How does this even work? Everyone just decided to quit their jobs en masse? That's it? Why? I don't get it. Never mind, I think I have it figured out. The laws are kind of different, so now if you have racial segregation, it disallows work in government buildings for anybody with violent hostility or cultural erasure status. Which, if I had to guess, probably now includes the majority of the country. Yeah, that's 156 million pops. Okay, time to fix that. Right, well, the law's been shut down, so I guess we're gonna be sitting like this for a couple of years. Not much we can do, anything with. I hope the East India Company is happy. They're happy with what they wanted. Maybe not the brightest people, those, East India Company guys. Okay, you know what? At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and kick out the East India Company. And I'm actually gonna kick this guy out because I don't like him. You know what? Sure, whatever. I'd much rather have that guy. In fact, I think I'm going to shuffle some people around, bring in these guys, then actually grant you leadership so that you'll be more in favor of what I want. I actually don't think I can be bothered to wait 2 years every single time I want to do this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and actually demand annexation. Here we go. That will give me their railway, thus completing this. For 9 years, Bombay gets migration attraction and railway building throughput. Oh hey, we can have a second company. East India Company 2 Electric Boogaloo. Max weekly construction progress, plus 5% construction sector building throughput. That's pretty good, actually, yeah. Okay, I'll take that. Clearly, swapping away from cultural exclusion was an enormous mistake, so we're going to get everybody on board for that, including even the civil servants, everybody we can. What else do we have here? So the Court of Directors in London also wants us to reform our administration. They want colonial resettlement. Okay, I'm gonna say no. They do not outweigh the need for cultural exclusion. This is like the most important thing to tackle right now. So, we will get around to it, just not at the moment. Now that I'm done tanking my economy, we should be able to get back to business. Okay, so if you try to do the doctrine of lapse while some of your subjects are upset, they will try to fight for independence, which is really not that big of a deal, because I've already annexed enough of them to the point where that doesn't really matter. But good to know, I guess. Oh, and you know what, actually? All these countries are pretty small, and they're pretty cheap to just annex. I might as well just, like, add them to the list, right? At least however many I can. Well, that's one way of annexing your subjects, I guess. Now, of course, the British did want me to do this as well. I see no problem with that, so let's do it. Although I am going to need quite a bit of government administration to carry through on that. Oh boy, and what's your problem exactly? Militant, because, right, cultural erasure, I know, that's not good stuff. Also a lot of radicalism, like that's a lot of radicalism. That makes sense, especially because most of them are from me recently conquering stuff, that being the stuff that I have been annexing. Right. Okay, well, let's stop bolstering that and let's start suppressing this movement. Once I'm done constructing all this stuff, I think it would be fine if we just let the private sector do whatever they want, since they've been building up a lot of money over the last few years. Who could have guessed? So in that case, we'll just reduce taxes. It's fine. You know, that actually is one thing that I really do appreciate about this. The new rework in this system is that now when you have a separatist movement, you actually have a chance to, like, stop the separatist movement. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I play Victoria 3, whenever a movement starts, I've literally never been able to stop it. So this is a nice change of pace. Now I'll look really stupid if it turns out that it actually fires. Oh, right, I do actually have, like, no infamy, so I should annex somebody, assuming that they won't, you know, cause any problems for me. That's probably fine, right? Doesn't tell me which ones will rise up and which ones won't, but I don't think I actually care, so I'm just gonna grab that. Yeah, okay, I figured. Well, at the very least, it is the faster way of annexing, I guess. It just causes a lot of radicalization. But at the very least, I do have low taxes. Okay, there we go. We have colonial resettlement. We can get started on these areas over here. Let's go for a dedicated police force. That should help us with a little bit of the radicalism. I feel like Persia's kind of overstepping their bounds here, so I'm gonna say, you know what, actually? I could make them a protectorate. Oh, is that worth it? It would be so funny. Beautiful. New protectorate, new subject, new jewel in the crown of the British Empire. But in reality, I'm probably gonna want to like become independent at some point, but we'll see. For now though, I spent a huge amount of money on that war, not gonna lie. And it seems like they're gonna try to fight again. Okay, cool. One thing that's always confused me is how you're even supposed to be able to manage a population this large. See, I've never played Qing either, so I have no experience in playing a country that just has such a enormous population. Because I'm looking at these numbers and we have 9 million people employed, but the population has gone up 70 million. I feel like we might not be creating enough jobs. It would probably be a good idea to try and clear up some of this radicalism, right? And it seems the vast majority of this radicalism is because people are in poverty, so I guess I should fix that or something, I don't know. Okay, so who's in poverty? Right, that's a lot. Ooh, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Okay, unemployment. Who would have guessed that being unemployed would make you poor? Crazy how that works. Oh, don't worry, some people are employed and still poor, so that's cool. Okay, so I'm thinking, what if I just make a bunch of groceries? What if I make groceries that are cheaper than grain, if that's even possible? That should help poverty, right? Maybe? Now that we have per capita taxation, it should ease some of the tax burden on, I think, the majority of the population. Since the majority of the population are peasants, it should raise their standard of living. And also, everyone who is employed should start paying some kind of tax, whereas previously they kind of weren't, at least not very much. Oh wow, it immediately spikes the standard of living, huh? We did it, guys, we fixed poverty. Now, I have gotten some of the radicalism under control, a couple more loyalists, but mostly fewer radicals. And most importantly, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did end up fixing the problem with the political movements trying to separate. So now we have the big problem in the room. A lot of my subjects are pretty disloyal, and I think sooner rather than later, I should just let them know that it's a fruitless endeavor. So how about we actually start with this guy? Oh, never mind. I thought they were gonna revolt or something. Are you serious? Wait, hold on. I actually ended up urbanizing the East India Company. Huh, what do you know? Well, the economy is doing spectacularly. It is over double the size of Britain's economy. Okay, now this subject has an entire power block behind it. A lot of my subjects were really upset that one time that I demanded annexation without technically using the legal route of the doctrine of lapse. Surely they would have nothing to worry about this time though, because I'm doing it totally legally, but of course they're gonna object anyway, so it is what it is. On the bright side, at least I can get rid of this problem that's been brewing for a while, and it's not like they have a lot to fight me with, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually start conquering a few things myself. Totally fine if they don't want to be subjects. I can definitely have that arranged. If you think about it, it's actually a pretty good deal. Multiple annexations for the price of one. They don't make them like that anymore. We do also now have public trading, which is probably a good idea, I think. The other thing we can do with that, actually, is we can swap away from tenant farming to commercialized agriculture. I'm kind of hoping I don't have, like, issues every single time I try to invoke the doctrine of lapse, because it does get a little bit annoying. Anyway, time to annex these guys. Yeah, it's what I expected, but at the very least, it's not as bad as it was the last time. What are you doing? What is this? You want to conquer Pegu? And, wait, you want all of Burma, pretty much. And you thought it would be wise to declare war on me? France, my guy. Your army is weaker than mine alone. Let alone mine and Britain's. And of course France backs down. I mean, are you kidding me? Also, is that the Kingdom of Heaven? I'm sorry, I wasn't really paying attention. Just out of curiosity to see who we can get instead of this guy, we're just gonna go ahead and kick this dude out because he's a moderate and he's boring, so... Are you kidding me? Never mind. Forget I said anything. I just want one utilitarian, just one. A single one. Is that too much to ask for? Oh hey, hold on a second. When did Persia break free from me? That's kind of weird. Well then, I guess that's not happening anymore. That's kind of weird. We do have something new, which I was waiting to have pop up, and that is pan-nationalism. In theory, this might give us a bit of an issue. This is where things actually get a little, interesting in India. First of all, we have the communal divides, so if we have any kind of nationalist movement, then this will immediately pop up. Fortunately, our economic dependence is not high enough for the non-cooperation movement to really be an issue. I have been keeping myself relatively free from British influence. See, I actually very much like the idea of further autonomy from Britain. I don't think I mentioned this, but because we're a chartered company, we have to pay 40% of our treasury income every single week, which is £257,000 per week. So if we could become like a dominion or something, that would be kind of nice. So over time, because we have good relations with Britain and a reformist subject government, I don't even know what that means, we're gonna gain progress on this until eventually we can ask Britain for some government reform, hopefully turning us into, well, hopefully a dominion. I would accept a puppet as well. The big thing is I want to spend a lot more money on stuff like institutions, and I can't really do that because it's just incredibly expensive. Man, it really is every single time I try to annex anybody. Well, here we go again. Oh, thanks, Britain. Okay, sure, we can do that, I guess. How many do I need to make? 50 of them, brother. Alright, if you say so. Well, that's one way to lower unemployment. Now that that's been dealt with, hey Britain, do you want to maybe give me some reform? I think that would be cool, actually, thank you. See, the thing is, Britain's more likely to accept if they feel like they're gonna lose the Raj. Pretty obvious that they're not gonna lose the Raj, so I don't know how likely they are to actually accept, but it can't hurt to ask. Please say yes. We have not gotten a response, which makes me think that the answer is no. Well, that's not good. Please, Britain. Please, you have no idea how bad things are, Britain. They're actually perfectly fine, but we need them to think that they're bad, you know? Britain, what have you done? Britain, you failed me. You could have saved me, Britain. Oh, this will be interesting. Okay, so things are not looking good. Riots, lovely. I think it would be bad to dispatch the army to pacify the riots. I think that looks like it would be civil war, actually. Maybe we shouldn't do that. We'll promise justice, sure. I want a peaceful revolution, not one that kills the country, please. Think about the profits, Britain. I know you like the profits. Okay, so the general here, the guy in charge of, you know, the massacre, we can choose to just send him back, or we can strip him of his rank and awards and then deport him back. I think we will have less revolution if we do the bottom option. That would be cool, thanks. Oh yay, revolution anyway. Okay, how do I stop this? Right, we do have censorship. That's true. Yeah, okay, that's kind of fair actually. We do have a bunch of martyrs. I'm gonna go over here and start suppressing this, because that's not actually something that we want. Please, no revolution. That would be bad right about now, actually. It's so bad. It's, that's high activism, militant activism, and it's like the whole country. This is so bad. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do to stop this. I don't know where I messed up. I asked Britain for help. They gave me silence. Okay, I'm gonna say, the one way to solve this problem is to reduce taxes. Just to have less radicalism, please, I beg of you. Yeah, don't you want less taxes? Everybody likes less taxes, please. And you want private health insurance? Why? Why are you like this? You think I have the institution strength for health insurance? No? Okay, you know what? You can have colonial exploitation. It's like pretty much the same thing. Oh, you know what's really funny, actually? I could start colonizing over here in Papua, and that is just funny enough for me to do it. If we make the Indian national movement politically irrelevant, okay, wouldn't that be nice? Or if India peacefully achieves independence. Peacefully, that would be nice. How do I do that? Maybe I don't do that. I don't know. Cross my fingers, hope for an event. It's not like the British are gonna give me Dominion status, we know that. Indo-French conspiracy. Okay. Indian revolutionaries colluding with agents of the French government. Cool. Suspected conspirators are put on trial in 30 days. I feel like we shouldn't do that. Yeah, let's maybe not do that. Alrighty, we now have steel frame buildings. Super helpful because the economy is requiring a lot more construction, and we don't exactly have the iron to keep up with that. So it would be nice to get a little bit of a change towards steel. It will be expensive though, so when I make this change, we're just gonna do that, and then maybe, well, we can't exactly reduce the number, can we? Oh well, I'm sure it'll work out. Salt March, okay. Independence activists led by this guy have marched to the seaside to protest the state salt monopoly. Put them all in prison, or don't put them in prison. I think it would be bad to put him in prison. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. See, it looks like the better option because the salt tax protests are not as huge. But then again, it's also making him a martyr. I feel like that's going to lead to even worse things. So because I don't know what actually happens here, we're going to err on the side of caution and maybe not put him in jail. I think that's a good idea. Oh, right, and of course, because we have like a bunch of stuff up here in Bombay, a bunch of railways, and we got steel-framed construction, we now have this. The Victoria Terminus may be constructed using the political lens in Bombay, okay. Interest group attraction and approval for the East India Company, sounds good. In order to actually build it though, it's going to require a much later technology, so never mind. Also, taxes are very low and people are still gaining radicalism. That's great. That's cool. You know what it is actually? We're literally just gaining more radicals every month. I don't think I can actually do anything about that. I will have to wait like 15 years. Actually, 17 years in total. There we go. Colonial exploitation. Hopefully that doesn't actually increase the activism. I never thought about that. It doesn't seem to. Okay, that's good. The next thing we should probably do is get rid of censorship. One of the big things that's causing an issue with a good part of the population. In fact, if we manage to pass this, it's going to reduce the activism of the Indian national movement and also give us a ton of loyalists, or at least fewer radicals, hopefully. Or it might just get rid of the entire revolt. Okay, cool. That works for me. Well, it's not like it's actually gone. The movement's still there, it's just not militant. Still have to solve the underlying problems. Like, for example, we should probably look towards getting to multiculturalism. And for that, we're going to need human rights. You know, I might as well just bite the bullet on this. Go ahead and annex the Khalsa Raj. All of my subjects are going to dislike this. It is what it is. They're gonna fight me. Oh well. Had to get around to it eventually. There we go. Right of assembly. Oh wow, that's huge. Just recently enacting right of assembly reduces it by 50%, which is massive. I'm sure that'll decay over time, but it has made a lot of people much happier. You know what, actually, guaranteed liberties would not be that bad of an idea. As much as it pains me to do this, because we actually do kind of like being friends with Britain, it's still kind of too bad. We have to go ahead and maybe start damaging relations. Certainly took some time, but look at that. Those borders are starting to look pretty clean. Now, if only I could achieve some kind of independence. That would be nice. To do that, we'd have to decrease our relations with Britain. We might even actually at some point ask them for our own market, but we'll see. It's interesting we could actually request to support independence from Russia. That might not be a bad idea. If we want independence, we're probably going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is just increasing liberty desire. Of course, asking for things from Britain, which they're going to say no to. And seeing who we can get to support our independence. There we go. We also have guaranteed liberties. I will have to get a little bit more government administration to make that work. We can even build a skyscraper. Something I don't even think the British have done yet. Well, I guess we count as the British, don't we? In a way. But it doesn't feel like that, so no. Oh, right, human rights. This could lead to something. We can have a champion for change against Brahmin dominance. Oh, right, yes, this is a whole thing that would make more sense if we actually did have the caste system. We've managed to play the entire game without enforcing it, which I think is actually the main benefit. The fact that we didn't become the British Raj meant that we didn't have the caste system immediately enforced automatically, which means we were able to get enough qualifications to supercharge the economy. But if we did have the caste system enforced, then the Brahmins would be the more accepted social class. They would be the strongest, whereas pretty much everybody else would be significantly weaker. But in any case, yeah, we might as well just go ahead with the riots. Oh, we can actually go for multiculturalism. That would be perfect. In theory, that should solve a lot of problems. Okay, so we just need to like throw these guys into government. It doesn't really matter if they're there for very long. I think we just need to do it at all. To complete the Dravidian movement, which is basically a lot of people being upset that the Brahmins have a little too much power. We've already gotten no caste enforcement, which is good. I don't really know what it'll do in the end. Hopefully, maybe it'll just pass multiculturalism. Who knows? All we really need to do is shove them in the government, see what happens. There we go. Equality at last. We get times of change, more cultural acceptance from many of the social classes, and qualification growth. That's nice. And education access. Well, that's good. On the other hand, we could use this as a political opportunity to empower the rural folk, but I kind of don't want to do that. We would get more authority, but I don't care that much. Well, there you go. The first of its kind in the world. Very first skyscraper ever, built in the British East India Company. This is great. And there you have it, 1893 multiculturalism. To be honest, I don't think I've been able to pass multiculturalism since, well, before they reworked multiculturalism. You know what? I think the Bengal Coal Company would be one of our best bets. That is so much coal. Plus 10% iron mines throughput, that's pretty good. What's interesting is that coal actually contributes to a very significant part of my GDP. And it's by a lot too. So maybe it would be a good idea to pick that up. We're going to ask the British for market control. They're going to say no, which will increase our liberty desire, which is what we want. Persia backs down against Russia. Oh, okay. So thing is, I guess at this point, I mean, if they're backing down to Russia, I might as well do this, right? Hey, there we go. We now have public schools. That's good. We're going to need to collect a little bit more tax, maybe get a little bit more money. Just going to keep on bumping up a couple of these. We're going to need a whole lot more bureaucracy to make that more effective, plus we can collect more taxes still. Sure, things are going well, but maybe they're going a little too well. Maybe people can be a little bit poorer, just for a little while. Persia backs down, thank you. Are you actually going to remain a subject this time? Who knows? Hopefully. You know, I was about to say, hey, it would be a good idea to change the power distribution, and then I realized, nope, we're not allowed to do that. Britain already said no previously, so, yeah, all that's left at this point is to demand independence, and we're getting there, though. Man, every time I try to annex anybody, it happens every single time. Alright, let's do it again. Might as well annex some of my more unruly subjects. Oh, what do you know? There's an achievement for that, huh? Crazy how that works. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. So there are supposed to be events when you're expanding in the early game that allow you to establish new princely states. I guess you're supposed to directly annex it, which is kind of funny that I didn't. But I'm not just going to release another country at this point. I feel like I'm kind of tired of having subjects. So that's kind of too bad. You know what else I should do? Probably get rid of child labor. I think that's a good idea. In fact, we can go all the way to compulsory primary school. Just skip the whole thing completely. We can request market control from the British. They're going to say no. Obviously, that's the point. We gain more liberty desire as a consequence. And then, in a couple years, we can do more stuff. Oh, what just happened? What? Huh? I don't even... What did you do? So confused, man. What happened? Why do we have the caste system? Why do we have autocracy? Why am I the British Raj? I thought things were going so well. What happened? Okay, well, we got rid of most of the princely states ahead of time, so I mean, things are looking decent for the most part. It's just so odd. You know what it is? See, I haven't played the British, so I don't know how this actually works out, but my theory here is that if you have too much liberty desire, then the British get a decision to turn you into a dominion. Or in this case, we're actually a colony, and we're probably going to ask them to increase our autonomy, and they will probably accept it, which would be nice. On the downside, we have lost the entire British East India Company, like the whole thing. I don't know what happens to the ownership of those buildings, but I'm assuming it's not good things. It could just be that, like, now we own them. That could be it. Oh yeah, that's a lot of nationally owned buildings. I think that is what happened. Okay, everything has changed, and I don't like it. Really don't like it. Autocracy, we still have multiculturalism, so I'm really not sure what they're going to do about that. Like a caste system with multiculturalism, does that even mean anything? At the very least, we pay Britain less now. Wait a second. Our economies are not really intertwined that much. We're like pretty economically independent. Can't they just demand increased autonomy? All of these are my subjects, not Britain's. What are they gonna do? Send like 500,000 men over to Siam? Might as well demand a reduction in Persia's autonomy. I'm expecting they'll say no, but whatever. Surprised that Persia didn't back down. We also got compulsory primary schools, so we can maximize out our education. You know what? Okay, I'm tired of being friends with the British. It's obvious they need us more than we need them. They're gonna say no to this, but it should give me just cause to declare my, well, either independence or whatever. Alright, Britain, well, we've asked nicely and you didn't want to give us independence, so I guess we're just gonna have to demand it anyway. We do know that Russia will be on our side, even though we don't exactly need them, I think, but it's fine. I really wish I could have also had the opportunity to nationalize all of the British-owned industries. That would be very cool, but we don't have the option for that. So instead, I'll just take a few things. Of course, the economy starts off by absolutely tanking. That's great. I guess we were a little more intertwined with the British market than I had expected, or rather, than the tooltip told me. Yeah, that's a lot of sulfur we were getting from the British market, which we were not told we were getting from the British market. I guess that's because it wasn't coming from the UK and was probably coming from, like, Canada. In which case, the game would not tell us that. So, we're gonna have to ask, I guess, the French and the Russians for sulfur. French, Russians, and Austrians for some lead as well. I trust that the private sector can probably handle a lot of the shortages or surpluses. I mean, we could start exporting clothing, I guess. Love the front system in Victoria 3. I like how this is 3 fronts. Very cool. Very cool. I like that it takes 30 days to travel between them. Oh, right, just in time for communism. Cool. Okay, well, we can't worry about communism right now. We have to defeat the British. There we go. Ceylon's been taken. The other armies can transfer. In fact, I think that's kind of everything we need from Britain, right? Yeah. We can just force them to capitulate. We don't even have to do anything. Not great to stay in this war for too long because the British do have naval supremacy. So they are annihilating my shipping lanes. I actually didn't think I was going to need shipping lanes. So it's kind of blindsided a little bit. Looking like a pretty resounding victory for us. The British are willing to hand over all concessions. Perfect. Where does this leave the British Raj? Well, we're independent. I absolutely despise this map color, not gonna lie. And we're now just East India. I guess we are an independent... military dictatorship. Lovely. Well, we can change that. We can just go to wealth voting as soon as we want to. Clearly, all I needed to do was wait. So, because we have pan-nationalism, I can just become India. What do you know? So, gaining independence before pan-nationalism is not the strat, but once we have pan-nationalism, maybe just become immediately independent? I don't know. Cool, so we become India. That's neat. So what changes? We get a lot of primary cultures. Still don't like the map color. Really hope I can change that at some point. We're going to get rid of the dictatorship. We're going to put these guys in power. Okay, that's a pretty cool map color, actually. I just had to, like, zoom out, zoom back in. For some reason, that changed things. Neat. I am also the number 2 great power in the world, which, of course, would make sense as the largest economy. The only person ahead of me, I imagine, is Britain. Right? Yeah, but not by much. We could also make a power block at this point, although I'm not exactly sure. What do we want to stand for as India? We are the current economic, maybe not hegemon, but pretty close to it, really. We gained our independence from Britain. We're establishing a republic. Maybe we can just do, like, trade. Maybe democracy. I don't know. You know, I was actually hoping that they would have a bunch of new things for this update when it comes to customization for power blocks. You know, like if they added new content for a country and then decide to add like a couple of emblems, a few other things. I think that would have been cool. Anyway, here we go. Asian Free Trade League. Thought I would, you know, sort of customize it to be similar to India's flag colors rather than the map color. The statue's a little goofy, but I thought it would look funny. Now, our capitalists are very strong. We can get them to work on investing in other countries. So let's ask for investment rights. There we go. We have our wealth voting, no longer a dictatorship. We will still have to wait for the first election, I think. See, there we go. New parties and everything. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, actually, that the petit bourgeoisie would end up with the highest percentage of the vote. It seems I've been hiring a lot of them as generals. New election complete. Things are looking pretty much as we expected. But now people actually trust in the government, so that's good. Well, for the most part. Still have 47 million radicals, don't worry about that. At this point, we can start expanding the actual responsibilities of the state itself. Could even go to proportional taxation. You know what I actually want is public health insurance. It would reduce some of the pollution effects, which have been getting pretty bad since, you know, being the #1 economy in the world does have a couple of drawbacks in the form of smog. Yeah, it's pretty bad in some places. First thing we're gonna do is enact workers' protections. Industrialists won't like that, but that's too bad. It did take a couple of years, but we are finally back to where we were before we declared our independence from Britain. Been doing a pretty extensive electrification campaign for the entire country. And we can invite Java. Perfect. Also invite Oman. Oh, look at that. #1 great power. Nice. What are the British doing? Yeah. That's what I was hoping for. I feel like it's pretty hard to actually get Japan to, like, join any kind of power block. Even though they've been forced to open their markets, it's still kind of hard because they have closed borders. So if we want to get any sort of investment in Japan, I guess we're gonna have to, like, demand it from them, aren't we? And they might even accept. Wouldn't that be interesting? Oh, they accepted. Okay. I was gearing up to have to like send people over by boat, but hey, that works. What I usually like to do with Japan is actually just turn them into practically a sulfur mine, where I go ahead and invest in Japan, and then I'm gonna import sulfur from Japan. Once the price of sulfur gets low enough on the Japanese market, we should be able to start importing a lot more of it. But we'll see if that actually works out. I don't know why they insist on using railways when they have no rails and also too many unemployed people, but AI is gonna do AI things, I guess. Literally no railways in the entire thing, by the way. Personally, I think if there are no railways whatsoever, then you should not be allowed to set railways as an option, just personally speaking. Kind of the same way how you can't set an electrified production method for a state that doesn't have electricity. I think that's fair. Unfortunately for the AI, I don't care what they want. I'm gonna build railways. They want to use railways? Okay, I'll build railways. And you know what else I'm gonna do? Export engines. I'm getting that sulfur, one way or another. I'm pretty sure there's a problem with forcing nationalization, and that is, it doesn't work the way that it does in real life. Instead of just nationalizing everything and then, you know, having to fight a defensive war to protect your nationalized industries, instead we have to respectfully walk into London and then ask them to allow us to nationalize the industries rather than just, you know, nationalizing them. The other option is we could simply nationalize all of the industry, but, you know, give compensation, I guess. I think it's probably worth it. Even if it is expensive, we have lots of money. Went ahead and decided to start cleaning up a few of my subjects since there are a few still within our borders. Of course, this will make the other subjects upset, but I'll just like force annex them as well. When you have too many subjects, it becomes a real pain because for some reason annexing one small city or like village over here makes Persia very upset for some reason. Still feel like that could use a little bit of a rework, but we'll see. Oh, right, those guys. I completely forget about you every single time. Okay, any more subjects want to give me a hard time? Seems like somebody does, yeah. Oh, of course, I want to annex some small country, and instead, of course, Burma decides, me too. Could have just waited your turn, but okay. Somebody's in a hurry to be annexed. Who is this? Tohoku. What? Okay, random Japanese anarchist commune. I don't even know what to say to that. I was a little concerned at first because I'm like, oh, well, Japan's not letting me help them with this, but then I saw they were pretty confident, so I'm thinking, okay, it's not a big deal. Turned out to be a bigger deal than I thought it would be. It was very painful and took a long time, but I actually went ahead and nationalized all of the industry that Britain had in our country, reducing their GDP ownership from 98 plus like 95 or something down to 98 plus 49. So we basically just grabbed a whole chunk of Britain's GDP ownership, and I am now currently privatizing all of that back to our own companies because nobody has investment rights in our country except for ourselves. So that'll all go to our capitalists who can do further reinvestment. Okay, you know what? Maybe we should allow the people to have a vote, not just the wealthy people. Maybe it's time we go to universal suffrage. I think one of the main reasons why we can't really get a health system is because nobody cares. And by nobody, I mean the people who have money. See, the trade unions, they kind of care. But the trade unions have no influence, because no one's gonna vote for the trade unions when we have wealth voting. Oh, what is happening to Russia? Oh my god. I don't even know what to say to that. It seems like some movements are much better and stronger at establishing themselves than they were previously. You know, example A. Bro, what? Okay, man, I can't even take this seriously. What is happening? What is... What? You know what? I kind of want to see what happens if they win. I guess I don't really have to see what happens if they win, because, like, hold on a second. I just realized that's not Russia. This is Dobruja. Who is this? Why is there an anarchist commune? Why did they actually win? And then there's Mr. President, a second anarchist commune. What is happening anymore, man? We might as well be nice to them, right? It seems like they're gonna occupy the former Russia, so why not? Sure, we'll help you in exchange for a trade agreement. What's Russia gonna do? You with your 2 million GDP. Oh, I should have asked them for one of the subjects, actually. That would have been a lot smarter. That's why I didn't do it, because only a smart person would do that. Unbelievable. Absolutely beautiful. No notes. We just have a country called Cars as the number 3 great power. I love this game. Right, that's Persia fully annexed. Guess I couldn't go ahead and start integrating the whole thing since, well, we have like infinite bureaucracy. There we go. Now we have actual voting for everybody. Can't really think of what else we need to do other than, I mean, we still don't have a healthcare system. When is that next election again? Not for 2 years. Okay. In that case, yeah, we can just throw these guys in, I guess. That's fine. And I think we should get public healthcare. There we go. Public health insurance. We already have the bureaucracy. Might as well start using it. We can do this again, man. Okay, you know what? Yeah, just become a protectorate. Come on, bro. We cannot have this happen a second time. Oh, almost missed that really important moment. Hey, we just got to 1 billion GDP. That was actually the secondary goal of today's video. One that I didn't mention because I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough time to do it. Now, that was the point that I originally planned to end off today's video, but I am at the very least just gonna finish this off. I think, finally, with how long this video is guaranteed to be, I should probably end things off here. I went into today not really knowing what to expect. Sure, I had played the opening to India a couple of times, technically. Of course, they did change quite a few of the values for those starting journal entries, making them a lot easier. The world's currently looking like this, with these countries in our trade league, which really isn't a lot. Japan, obviously, a new protectorate. Java joined willingly. Brunei, a couple other countries. 12 in total, including some of my subjects. I was going to get Egypt in there. I just couldn't be bothered to actually, do too much with them. Obviously, if we're looking at power bases, we are the strongest country in the world. Absolutely no contest. We have a literacy rate of 80%. Most of that, of course, coming from the implementation of public schools more recently. Gives us the 13th highest literacy rate in the world, so really not too bad at all. Population, second largest as you'd expect. In the end, our laws turned out like this. We were still going through protected speech. GDP per capita is number 8, which is a monumental achievement with India. Standard of living, number 6. It's always because some really small countries have high standard of living for whatever reason. And Sweden. Good for them, I guess. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's extremely long video. Thank you very much for sticking through to the end. And if it's your first time here, you might want to drop a subscribe. After all, you did just watch a Vic3 video that I'm guessing is probably at least 45 minutes long. And of course, if you want to leave a like, that would be hugely appreciated. As of when this video is out, some of you have probably already been playing the new DLC, so let me know how your India runs have been going. For now though, this is Corbett signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. Shout out to all the patrons for this month. These people not only help make the channel possible, but also receive early access to videos. So a big thanks to Erica, Baby Cow, Born to Dunk, Le Quebecer, Nick Steffel, Q-Brute, A.G. Forero, Ben Mottram, Quiet Guy, Rosset, Torvald, Ambient Cyan, James Levy, Luke78776, White Rook, and Robert.